What's up?
What is up?
How you
Happy.
doing, Kev?
I'm good. I'm all good. Been staring at our results of our song
Mm.
to
Oh
seeing
yeah,
how we're doing on that. So
yeah.
far
We're at
looking
like
good.
about 9,000 streams
Mm-hmm.
on the single
So
so far in
yeah,
2 weeks or so. We're a
yeah,
week until the full album comes out. I know our final we're shooting this episode the same day that the third episode that we shot for the album. That
yeah,
particular one has to do with the see we did writing, production, so it must be the recording process, I think.
yeah. I think so.
um but yeah, it's exciting. Everything is very close to being out, and had good feedback on the song.
Mm-hmm.
Video is doing really well, and picked up a whole bunch of new subs, so
Yeah,
it's an exciting time for us for sure.
absolutely. I think it's very interesting to me. Like when you talk to, I don't know, I was talking to my mom or somebody, and talking about sort of traditional ways of how you would go and get music out to somebody to try and promote yourself.
Mm.
And you think about, it used to be that you would go to like radio stations and so forth, and you're like, here, play my song, please play my song. Or you would ask people, request the song. So, they could play it on the radio station, try and gain popularity. And then if it started blowing up in a certain market, then other markets would hear about it and organically start to add it to their rotation on the radio.
Right.
It seems like that whole landscape has long since of the past, if you will. And a lot of that you have been paying a lot of attention to now is really around how to effectively market to people that want to hear this kind of song or this kind of album or this sort of genre of music. And that is a very different scenario than I think a lot of people are accustomed to, right? Some are now because they're getting used to sort of that's the way of the world, and YouTube and social media platforms are the way to really get yourself exposure. And once you've able to garner yourself enough followers or enough subscribers or enough legitimate views, then other folks, labels, things like that can start to take notice and go, okay, you've already got a pretty good established fan base. Where do you need our support? Is it on the touring side? Is it on exposure beyond, a certain market or a certain area that you live? And kind of going in that direction. But this is all sort of brand new frontier, I think, for both of us. So it's been interesting to kind of see how ads are working for us or against us, how, you really dug in and started doing a lot of that this round because we've had such mixed results with these playlists, promotional companies that advertise, we'll review your song and we'll get you legitimate fans and all this kind of stuff. And quite honestly, a lot of that is garbage. And
Well,
we're learning that through different ways.
yeah. Well, you surprised me a little bit in bringing this topic up at all, but
Mm.
maybe we should zoom out. And this is kind of an interesting topic to get into, I think. Um, we've been a band since 2017, probably put out the
Yeah.
first record in 2019. So that was the first music that we had out that we could promote in some way.
Yeah.
Between that, the singles that we put out, and some of the cover songs that we put out, and then leading up to this album cycle,
Hmm.
so that's 6 years worth of stuff there. We've tried a whole bunch of different types of promotion, and I think you and I have both been of the mentality that just the creative side of this band is a full-time gig, just about. um it comes and goes in waves a little bit, so it's easier to
Hmm.
manage sometimes than other times, but it's a lot of work. And we've talked about this before, but we're fully independent, so we don't
Hmm.
have any sponsors, we don't have any backing, we don't have anyone else on our team. We have had other musicians that we've worked with before. Michael being the biggest one. You know, he
Mhm.
played on both records, and so we've had that kind of collaboration and help. But when it comes to artwork, when it comes to, and actually, I
Mhm.
should pause on that because no, there have been a couple instances where we've had a little bit of help when it comes
Yeah.
to like grabbing photographers who are people that we respect and happen to be friends with as well. So some of that kind of stuff, we've hired out before.
Yeah.
Um, so that's been great. We've had like 3 different photographers, and some video help, especially on the first video, and then the Fear on High video that we did.
Mhm.
But even then, it's like all of the work that goes into our band really just comes from you and I.
Mhm.
So, you know, traditionally I've handled the audio production side. We both write the music. You handled the graphics side of things and video editing and all of that. And so we both have struggled, I think, to try to wrap our heads around how do we also become the master of social media
Mhm.
and a master of understanding the changing trends that are happening all the time on the internet, and understanding how to market us, and
Mhm.
understanding how to book gigs and all of these things. It's kind of like my my hope always when I started was a bit um I don't know how I would say it. Like, it was a bit unrealistic, I suppose, in that, okay, well, if I can just write a good enough song, then people are going to want to jump on board. And
Mhm.
I think there is some truth to that. Like, if you can consistently put out really good stuff, then eventually you are going to have people who want to be involved in what you're doing. But I think also what I wasn't thinking about is like, it's hard for everybody to get a thing going,
Mhm.
and you don't jump on board until there's something to jump on board for, you know? And so changing our mentality to trying to take full ownership of every piece of this, it's been a lot more work, but I think also we benefit from having got our individual roles pretty well down, whereas for
Yeah.
the last few years, we've been working a lot on things that we don't have to work on as much now, because we sort of know what we're doing. And so one of the big areas was trying to figure out how do we promote the band. And so, like, you in particular have put up a lot of money over the
Mm.
years, just trying to figure out like what's gonna work. Let's find a company, because there
Mhm.
are tons of them out there. And if you're an artist trying to find a way to promote yourself, then you probably have done a Google search and found playlist companies. They promise to get you listed in playlists,
Yep.
maybe get you views on a YouTube video, or kind of whatever your goal is. There's someone out there who will tell you that they can do it for you.
Mhm.
And our experience, and I can't wait to hear your perspective on this. I think what we found is that those things are true to a degree, but
Mhm.
there's a catch to everything. And advertising and promoting cost a lot of money. And so there are ways to technically meet an objective while still being able to maybe maximize profit as a company that doesn't necessarily benefit the artist. And
Mhm.
so what we found is maybe we would generate a lot of views, or a lot of streams, or land in
Mhm.
playlists, but they might be in places that the integrity of those streams might be called into question, or looking at where in the world the views were coming from, you kind of have to scratch
Mhm.
your head and go, I mean, I love everywhere, so this isn't a slight to anyone culturally, but our music is in English, and it's like, why are we getting most of our streams from places that don't speak English? That seems kind of
Mhm.
suspect.
Mhm.
And then you also will see, Spotify, for example, talks about this a lot, where they warn you against companies that will promote for you, because a lot of times they are generating streams in fictitious ways or falsifying streams,
Mhm.
which of course is fraud because there's a financial component behind all of this.
Mhm.
And so this has led us to a place where we go, okay, well, let's try to figure out how to promote ourselves in this sort of modern world. Of course, a big part of that is always going to be organic.
Mhm.
But when you're getting started, and even though we've been around for years, I consider us still as being in the getting started phase, perhaps not in our songwriting, but as a band,
Mhm.
we don't have a large following as of shooting this today, whatever this is, September 26th, 2025, as we're filming this.
Mhm.
And I can't wait to see what it looks like by this time next year. But it's just been a really interesting, complicated, confusing, and hard to swallow journey, I think. And I'll end my rant there and hand it to you because I'm curious what you think from you've done a lot of research in this stuff too.
Mhm.
And I'm not necessarily saying that what we figured out so far is the end all. I feel like we're kind of at a beginning journey with that too, but it feels
Mhm.
like we've taken some power back in saying, okay, well, if we're going to invest money into things like promotion, let's make sure that we really truly understand what it is. Like, what are the criteria that we're looking at here? Where in the world are we promoting? To what audience? How old? What are we using to sort of ensure that it's getting in front of the right audience? Is it just going to anybody that will
Mhm.
look at it, or is it going to people who maybe really like rock music and like the kind of things that we do, and working to try to get that figured out so that we can maximize our ability to really support ourselves in this whole endeavor.
Yeah. There's I could definitely go on a tear, and I'm gonna watch my language as best as possible through this because I can tend to have a pretty foul mouth when I get riled up about something. But let me just say
Many
this.
of us do.
So here's quick just synopsis on this as well. If you're going to go with a company that advertises, hey, we'll get you legitimate streams. We're based on the budget that you have. We're going to have curators, as they called, and I'll put that in air quotes, curators.
Yeah.
Listen to your song, and they'll give you feedback, and maybe that song will end up on their playlist, and maybe it doesn't. Right? So let's start there. The feedback, by and large, is usually AI generated or just completely nonsensical. And I mean that with love. Even some of the positive ones that we've gotten are suspect in the sense of like, did you really listen to the song? You
Hmm.
know, but the ones that I find probably the most offensive are the ones that suggest things like, I can't hear, like, your vocals are too subtle, or it's too hot in the low to mid range. And I'm like, do you honestly understand the words that you're saying? Like when you say those things, you're obviously trying to help or be helpful. But
Yeah.
I question, because I've read so many of these, I really just question the validity of it. I saw one today that said, your EQ aura is a bit crispy for my taste. I said, oh,
Well,
okay.
we're on. Right on.
Tell me what your EQ aura is. I would love to understand that in the musical term. And I don't say this to be conceited. I mean that because all of this for us has been a journey, even our
Yeah.
own engineering and writing and learning
Oh yeah.
the gear to
Definitely.
mix and master and all that kind of stuff. But trust that we sent out our
Definitely.
record to be professionally mastered. I have an incredible partner who's a pretty damn good engineer, if I might say so. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I do
Just a
believe
little
that
bit.
about you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit off-putting to read stuff like that and go, I know that you have no freaking idea what you're talking about. And you could just say, this isn't my taste. Thanks. I'll pass on it this next time. Love to hear more from you. Keep it up. Right. That's it. I don't need the whole blah, blah, blah. This is what I think you could do to make your song better. If you don't like the song, I respect that. Just let it go from there. I don't need your advice because honestly, from what I found, a lot of it is just garbage. It's not even real. Most of it is just there to take your money. And You know, again, I'm fortunate enough
Yeah,
to
it
have a
makes you
job that
feel.
allows oh, it just
I
makes you
was
feel
well, yeah, I was gonna
like
say,
crap.
like, well, sure, yeah, but it also makes you feel like people are listening to it, I think is why they do it.
Mhm.
Because I don't think those curators enjoy giving that feedback, because I'm sure they know that they don't know what they're talking about, which is why a lot
Right.
of it's AI generated or why they say dumb things.
But the ruse of
Because
it is they get
the
paid
company's
though.
like, well, right, but we pay a company, and that
Mhm.
company doesn't want it to just go into the void, which is what happens with a lot of these companies. So
Right.
to their credit, they've tried to set up a system, I think, where you feel like, okay, well, at least I know why they liked it or not,
Right.
and you can kind of read between the lines. If they're talking about something and it doesn't really make sense, you can still say, okay, well, they're basically saying that they don't like the production value of the song or whatever. But
Sure.
one of the things that got me more than all of that is like when we covered Alice in Chains.
Oh, yeah. Or Ghost.
Yeah, so both of those. So like Square Hammer was a Grammy nominated song or Grammy
Yeah.
winning song.
Yeah.
A huge song.
Mhm.
And the Alice in Chains song's a big song too, more so a really big album. But both are good examples of, we covered them. We were in no way trying to make it seem like it was our song. Like they were very
Not at all.
clearly
No.
and purposefully covers and tributes to bands that we really love.
Even in the
Um,
artwork,
yeah, totally,
you
totally.
know?
And so like the Ghost song we did for Halloween one year because
Mhm.
we thought, hey, that'd be fun. And it's a
Yeah.
little heavier and more metal than what we typically do, but we love that kind of music. So Halloween's a good opportunity to,
Yep.
wear a costume. And
Yes.
so we submit these songs to try to get them listed in playlists to get some exposure to them. And the feedback that we get is people who clearly think it's our song and basically
Mhm.
telling us that they're not good songs,
Yes.
in various different
Yes.
ways.
Yes. Yes.
And that
Yeah.
was when the illusion kind of broke for me, because if
Yeah.
we had done that with our own music, that might have really shaken my confidence a little bit.
Mhm.
But then hearing songs that are huge songs from huge artists, that some of them award winning or, at
Mhm.
least award nominated, I'm going, okay, it, there's no getting around the fact that these things are just so subjective, and
Mhm.
these people are. It's not like we're submitting to the curator of Rolling Stone,
No. No.
right? This is
No.
Johnny down the street who has a couple thousand people who subscribe to a playlist. Not taking
Yep.
shots at Johnny, but these are just regular people. These aren't necessarily people who have a background in music or an editorial or any of that kind of thing, like it might have been, a couple decades ago.
Yeah. I think the thing that always has alarmed me, and then I'll get off the high horse about it, honestly, because I think everybody's journey is different. I know we don't write music that is homogenous in the way that it might be widely accepted, right? We're not auto-tuning vocals. We're not putting all of that gloss and unnecessary sheen on something to really make it what a lot of people will feel like candy. You know, that's the only way I can think of it.
Well,
Like
we're
a
not
real
pop
candy,
artists. Yeah,
yeah,
we're not
candy
pop
coated
artists.
sort of pop rock song. It's definitely not that. I think we definitely lean into more of the aesthetic of the 70s and 80s and early 90s style of production, which is our
Yeah.
thing. That's what we do. Um, but these people that have 50,000 followers on a playlist, honestly, maybe they earned that. But to me, I feel like they start, like you mentioned, the Johnny person. Johnny starts, Johnny finds a company to help him get subscribers. He gets a bunch of subscribers. Maybe they're not real, maybe they are, but it inflates his number. Now he can be a curator for Spotify um, because he has a big following, or he joins one of these companies that will pay him to review songs by other artists to see if it meets the criteria for what he needs to continue to keep his playlist
Yeah.
thriving or alive to these faceless sort of subscribers, right?
Yeah.
So there's a model for people to make money now for doing that, and great to Spotify for allowing that to be a thing.
Well, a lot of this has nothing to do with Spotify either.
But
Like
yeah, that's what we're
you,
also
you or
learning.
I could literally go on, start a playlist, and if people subscribe to it, then we're a curator.
You're right.
You know,
Right,
so
right, right,
because there
right.
are different types of playlists. Spotify basically has algorithmic, which is just we think you'll like this based on what you're listening to. They have
Yeah.
their curated stuff, which is like their editorial playlist, which is people hired by Spotify who do that. That would be more akin to like a Rolling Stone or,
Mhm.
enter whatever you want there. And then there's user playlists. And these companies
Yeah.
that we've used, they're just going to users who happen to have a following. So
Yeah.
they're literally just random people.
Yeah. I'm
Which
not,
doesn't make them not
again,
qualified, but you know what I
not
mean?
saying that they're not qualified.
Yeah.
Again, I would almost be the person that was, probably have a bit of jealousy living in there somewhere about why didn't I think to do this? I do feel like I could be a really great mentor or help for someone who, like us, who's trying to get their music out to an audience. And I guess I'll leave it with this, you know, as we're continuing to learn, and we can continue on this topic in future episodes. I think what we've learned right now is that sometimes, while it may be a slow burn to get your song to the audience that really deserves to want to hear it and build your audience that way, it may not be the flashy high numbers that you would hope to see immediately from a song. It still has a following that starts to grow and gain momentum and really be over time could really be popular. If you think about it, the average time, like I'll use a great example. The new Black Keys album came out a few weeks ago, right? If you go back 15, 20 years, people would grab that record on CD or vinyl. They're going to live with it for a couple months. They're going to listen to it maybe over and over again. They're going to find new songs. It's going to be a journey of discovery for them for that record, especially if it's a band they like.
Yeah.
Right now, there's such an influx of new stuff that an average time now for a lot of people, even with a big band like that, might be a couple weeks, maybe a month, but it's kind of hard pressed. You'd have to really keep going back and really, it's got to be one that just has stuck with you. So it's kind of hard to penetrate in that space because there's just so many
Yeah.
things coming out all the time that your attention span becomes less and you're not spending as much time with it. Also, with the internet and social media, you have a lot of things constantly grabbing and pulling your attention. So it
Yeah.
does make it harder to just kind of put the headphones on, drop the record, listen to it in a quiet space and really get lost in it. And I think you and I live in a bit of a nostalgic place like that where I do wish that people would find that again. And I know trust me, I know there are a lot of people that do still do this, but I'm
Yeah.
talking really broad strokes. I think a lot of people are missing out in that space where they could really spend a lot of time with that record. Now, that's not to say that you're mega artists like Taylor Swift that we've been lovingly talking about. By the way, Taylor, we'll still go out on tour with you whenever you
Yeah.
decide to go ahead and give us a shot.
Yeah. We're
Um,
not upset that it's taking you a while to get back to
yeah,
us.
it's the
We
ball's
we
in
can
your court. I
we
know
can
you're busy
forgive.
with Travis Kelce. All understood. He's having a hard time right now with his Chiefs not doing so great.
Yeah.
But all that aside, you know, maybe she'll find time to
The
check out our
Niner and the
record.
Buffalo fan have to get our little Chiefs jab
Yeah,
in,
we're
and
gonna get our Chiefs jab
we
in either
both have
way.
been burned by
But
that
that is not
group.
this podcast. I swear, we can have
We're
our
not
own
a
sports
sports
one later.
podcast,
Yeah,
but yeah, maybe we should.
Nevertheless, Taylor, if you're out there and you're listening, the offer still stands. Anywho, find your audience, continue to keep workshopping it. If there are really legitimate, great companies out there that promise honest views, continue to dig in and use those analytical tools on YouTube and Spotify to really understand who's listening, where are they listening, and for how long. When you see things that are suspect, like someone's listening to your song for 15 seconds or 30 seconds almost to the nose, there's usually an ad click or hey, listen to this for this amount of time and you're going to earn credits for this game you're playing or X, Y, and Z, some kind of,
Yeah,
enticement for them to earn something else for something they enjoy at our cost. So if you start looking at those analytics and you're seeing that, then you know that you're probably on the wrong path, and you should fight back with those companies that you're paying to sort of promote your music and say, hey, this is bullshit. And I could show you the truth. Here's the receipts. This is garbage. Why are all of these people listening to my music that are in areas that may not even have Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, all this stuff? How on earth are they listening to this? Right. And
Yeah.
why are they only listening to it for 10 seconds?
Yeah.
That's a really interesting thing to me. And again, I know everyone's on their journey, and I hope and wish everyone finds the audience that they deserve with their music. But it's definitely been a roller coaster for you and I with this, over the past few years.
Well, yeah. And a bit of advice mixed with some just thinking about our own expectations through this whole process. The advice would be, if you are going to hire a company and get help with promotion, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but
Mhm.
two things I'd recommend. One is educate yourself ahead of time on how some of this works. That way you can have an informed conversation
Mhm.
about what it is that you want. Clarify your goals. I imagine most people, and this was us when we started, was like, I just want, but like we made these songs, we put all this work into it. I just want people to hear
Mhm.
it. I don't want to put it
That's it.
out into the void and then have it be, my mom listens, and I'm glad she does. Not taking a shot at mom, but you know what I mean, right? Like you have the
Mhm.
people who are closest to you check it out because they're your friends or your family, and then that's it.
Mhm.
It goes
Mhm.
away. It's like you want to have a chance for it to be heard. So what are you going to do? Well, you go and you look for help, and then someone says, I can help you. I can get people to listen to your song. And you go, sounds great.
Right.
End of questions.
Mhm.
Say
Mhm.
less, take my money. I
Mhm.
know my song is so good that if people just listen to it, we'll have
We're
millions and
going to
millions
find
of
its
fans, and
audience.
it's going
Right.
to be great. Right.
Exactly.
And I think what we've learned is that a little bit of foolish thinking, not that it's not possible, and I'm sure that it happens to people,
Yeah.
if you happen to be in the right place at the right time. But I think you should come in informed on what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
And I think today's day and age, what we found is through like some of the things that we've done have generated lots of streams or lots of views, and they benefited somewhat. But what we found with them is that it's very transient and transactional. Most of those people don't stick around
Yeah.
through a lot of the methods that we tried. So you're thinking, man, okay, well, we got X number of streams. I would have thought that would have turned into some sort of fans. Like,
Mhm.
why are we not getting emails or comments or subscribers or whatever? It's like as soon as we stop paying the money, it just falls off to zero.
Mhm.
Um, so if your goal is to get streams or views, those companies can do that,
Mhm.
but that might not be the right goal for
Right.
you. The right goal might be, hey, I'd rather have less streams or views, but generate more interest from people who might actually stick around.
Yes.
And I think that's what we're
100%.
exploring right now. And so part of it is, like I said, like educate yourself a little bit and clarify your goal. The other thing is don't, and this is just my personal take, so take it or leave it. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't pay money to a company where you don't get to speak with someone
Mhm.
one on one to align on what your goals and expectations are.
Yep.
Someone who, like, if it's an online form and they send you a little checkout page and you buy into whatever tier and send it off, I'm not saying that all those are scams. Really, I have no way of knowing for sure, but I would just
Yeah.
say I would not do that. I would
Yep.
find a company where you can talk to someone and say, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's where my band is based, or here's where I'm based as an artist. I would like to market in these places. I would like
Mhm.
to help figure out like what the most ideal audience to market to is. I want to maximize the money I'm spending toward trying to generate fans. So I want to make sure that I get the audience as clarified as possible so that whatever it costs, and I can tell you that doing it that way will cost a lot more money. Because it is much cheaper to, at least as of us filming this right now, it's far, far cheaper to get views or plays or any of those things in developing countries, for example.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like, you're not going to find yourself touring there, most likely. Many of these countries don't speak English. So in our case, that's important because we're English speakers and our music is in English. Now, of course, multi-language places are fine. But if the predominant and almost only language is something else, that's going to be a problem, right? And so it's going to cost more to advertise in a place like the United States or Australia or the UK and those types of places.
Yeah.
So just be ready for that and say, like, it might make you feel really good to say I got X number of streams and that's the only thing that matters to you. Well, in that case, it's not a big deal and you can do that and you could probably do that at a reasonable price. But like anything, quality cost. And so just do your research and try to figure out what's going to be best for you. And then of course, don't stop working on the organic sort of thing as well. And so, continue just making content and these algorithms. Like I shared this with you the other day. I found a video that was really, I wish I remember the guy's name. I would shout him out. But I just found it really reassuring because it does feel as like a small creator or, whatever box they put things in these days, like as someone who makes content who doesn't have a big following yet, it gets discouraging sometimes because, you might make something that took a lot of time and energy and effort and then you think the quality is really high and then it seems to not get shown to anybody. And you're like, man, well, I'm not YouTube. I can't control who this gets in front of. I can only make it and put it up there and hope that people see it. And, but the way that these algorithms seem to work these days is that they're incredibly complicated. And so it takes time for the algorithm to figure out who your audience is. And it can only do that with the more data that you feed it. So the more that you keep posting stuff, keep focusing on the quality of what you're doing over the views and over the subs and all that stuff that it's easy to get really focused on. It's a really common story to see many creators who have videos that they made a year ago, all of a sudden one night, as if by magic, blow up and have millions of views out of nowhere. And it's not even one of their new videos. It's some other video that they've almost forgotten about because the algorithm finally had enough data and finally found the right subset of people that was going to work with. And then it blew up and they were able to continue to ride that wave and really grow from that point. So much of it has to do with being consistent, whatever that means for you. It doesn't mean every day or every week necessarily. It just means don't give up, keep making stuff and keep putting it out as often as you can. And then trust that in time, it will find its audience in time.
Exactly. And no matter what, don't think of it necessarily as like, well, our album came out this date, this year, because there was something I remembered as you were talking. There's the artist Moby, the electronic artist, DJ, social activist. But in his heyday, he had a pretty great record come out, I believe, called Play. And I think if I'm remembering this correctly, Play sort of started with, people kind of knew a little bit about him. And he started getting some airplay on a few of those songs. But then it started getting into, people started using it in TV and film. And there was a song on there called Porcelain that got a lot of airplay, but also ended up in a lot of TV and film as well. The point I'm making is I believe that record ended up being multi-platinum, and it took about 18 to 24 months for everyone to really discover it. So by the time the record had been out over a year, people started catching on, and it just
Yeah.
kept going from there. He had a song on there with Gwen Stefani. Um, there was just a lot of really good songs on that record, but it took a long time, even for someone at that level who was somewhat popular because of his DJ stuff and a lot of things that people knew him for prior to. That was going to be like, okay, let's see how this record does. But it took a while for it to find its audience. And once it did, it just took off like a juggernaut and became likely the biggest album of his career. And certainly the one that I think if you see him or go and see him play, that's still, you're still playing songs off that album. Speaking of some current events though,
Well, one quick thought
oh,
on
go
that,
ahead. Sorry, go
and then
ahead.
let's
Yeah.
transition
Yeah.
over. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, as much as we pine for the good old days of like physical media, right?
Mm.
A vinyl record or a CD or a tape or whatever. And, like we were just talking about it, right? Spending time with it, listening to it for a month or two at a time and knowing every song top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
There are advantages to this digital age because
Mm-hmm.
if we released this record, back in 1990, then what would happen is, you put it out, and if it didn't do well in its first couple of weeks, well,
You're
whatever,
done.
yeah, they're not going to keep printing
Mm-hmm.
copies and keeping them in every record store. Like there's not enough physical space to do that for artists. It's too
Right.
expensive to make the physical stuff. But what's beautiful about this digital age is that whatever you make is actually, it's really timeless,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not subject to being successful right when it comes out. People can find it and come, it's like, you do this probably with artists all the time. It's like you find an artist and maybe they're on their third, fourth, fifth album, or maybe it's someone that you've been told forever you need to check out and you just never have. Then you go and you have their whole catalog there to check out. Or podcaster, another good example. You find a podcast that you enjoy, and now great, you have all these episodes that they've done in the past that you can go back and listen to.
Right.
You
Right.
don't have to pick up with wherever they're starting. You can pick up
Right.
wherever you want, and all those things exist in perpetuity for all time as long as the internet exists. So that's pretty awesome. It
Mm-hmm.
means that you can just keep building your catalog over time and keep getting better and better at what you do, whether that be upping the writing or the production or the promotion or any of those things, and let it snowball and let it do its thing over time. And just don't become discouraged. And it's so
Yeah.
easy to become discouraged, and so easy to convince yourself of all the reasons why it's not going to work out or why it works out for other people and not you. And I like that we're having this conversation now because I'm fully convinced that things are going to continue to really take off for us. And
Yeah.
it's going to be cool to be able to look back at a time where we were still in the early stages, but really committed to the process to be able to prove that it works and that anyone can do it. Because I don't think there's anything inherently special about what we do other than that we're super passionate about it
Mm-hmm.
and we love to do it. And
That's it.
so, yeah, if you've got that, then who can beat you?
Yeah, and if you have a network of friends or people that, if you got a friend that does drawings or artwork or graphic design, bring them into the fold with you, right? It just so happened that you and I kind of met each other in that space, realized each other's talents in that world, and then it really took flight once we started working on a project,
Yeah,
from artwork and photos and all of this kind of stuff. But we still
it
leaned
developed
in
over
on
time for sure.
a network of people that were really supportive of us and helped us, with a project with, well, here, I'll shoot some, photos of you guys, or I'll
Yeah,
help you with the video or whatever. And if
yeah,
you have those friends in your network, certainly it can really help you kind of take flight, you know.
definitely.
Um, so yeah, current events will come in. I should have kicked off with this because it would have probably been, if you all are awake by now, still
I think that was
after
a
we
good.
talked
I
to,
think that was a good discussion, though. And I think a lot
I
of
do
people
too.
will resonate with that.
I do too. I honestly
Yeah,
do. And again, I know that I might have a lot more of opinionated things to say about those companies. But again, if it works for you and you're happy with the results and that's what your desire was, go for it. Um, you know, we wish everyone the best and hope everyone's success in whatever endeavor they're trying to approach to gain fans and get exposure to listen to their music. So we mentioned Ghost earlier and about covering Ghost, and I thought it was kind of interesting because there was some funny social media controversy this week. Ghost had to cancel a show because Tobias, their lead singer and mastermind of the band, unfortunately came down with food poisoning, which, again, if you're a touring road band, especially in this day and age, traveling all over the world, so many things, can happen. And so, of course, it's the unfortunate thing that happens sometimes, I imagine, when you're on the road. It's like, oh, I just had some bad whatever. And
yeah, where was he? Where was the band?
I don't remember. I don't know if it's Mexico. It might have. I think they're playing Mexico City.
You're not trying to give Mexico a bad name.
I'm not trying. Nope. I'm not even going to go there.
Got some bad tacos.
We love Mexico.
Yeah.
I love Mexican food. I'm going to go on record and say that. Been to Mexico plenty of times, had a great time. So I don't know. It could have been somewhere else. I'm not 100% on that fact.
Yeah.
But he gets food poisoning. They announce on their social media pages and Instagram and all that he's got to cancel a show. And they're very open about why. And then you just get this barrage of comments about like just people just blasting him for not being able to do the show. Like, without getting disgusting here, just think about what you're asking, please.
Yeah.
Like, this poor guy,
they want
if
him
anyone's
to do the
ever
show from the
had
toilet.
Food poisoning, yeah. You want this guy to put on his makeup and do the show from the confines of a private toilet somewhere backstage?
Yeah.
Like, what are you asking? Like, people are human beings.
It's like
not
when you
a
can tell
machine.
someone is taking a phone call from the bathroom.
Right.
Like it sounds all
so echoey.
He's like got the mic back there. He just sounds like he's in a porta potty.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what
And
the people wanted,
again, as a musician, I know that's a shared thing amongst people, but my heart goes out to them. I'm like, anybody that has, they get sick, they get the flu, they get COVID, they get food poisoning, whatever the thing is, and they got to keep figuring out. Bands, big bands, have brought out like their drum tech, their guitar tech to cover if a member of their band unfortunately got sick so that they would not have to cancel a tour. But it's impossible to do that if you're the front person for that band. You're not going to just put out anybody to go and sing 2 hours worth of Ghost songs, right? It's not going to work.
Well,
so of course
fans
it's unfortunate.
wouldn't want that either.
No, of course not. Then they're going to complain, oh, that wasn't really him, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I just
unless
found
they
it
know
so...
that signing up, it's like going to see Pantera now. Well, I guess that's a bad example, but because it is Phil singing, but you're not seeing Dimebag or Vinny on guitar and drums, but that going in, it's going to be Zach and
right. But in that
crew.
situation, I mean, not that the two are the same by any stretch, but in the Pantera situation, there are a lot of people that are fans of both Anthrax and, of course, Ozzy and Zach that were like, oh, I love Charlie and Zach playing in the band. It makes sense. It made sense for those two folks to join the rest of Pantera and do this somewhat in homage to the brothers and them not being with us anymore.
Well, and Zach and Dime being good friends and all of that as well.
Yeah.
So there's a relationship there. Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of just sad to hear that people couldn't accept, Tobias unfortunately got sick and he's not going to be able to do that show. But the show will go on. I think what got people upset, it was like 2 days later, the show's going to go on for the other two shows. But he can't do it for this one. So people are like, oh, you could do it for those two, but you can't do it for us? Like, sack up. What's wrong with you, buddy? Just, like take something so you don't drink a whole bottle of Pepto and get out on stage and give me my money's worth, right? And it
does make you wonder, like, how much of that is is bots or trolls.
Oh, of course.
Like
Who
how much of
knows?
it is even
Who really
real?
knows? That's why I don't.
Because I would think an average person would be disappointed, but would get it.
Yeah.
So it's either bots and trolls, or it's people with the emotional regulation of a toddler.
Yes.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like you can't handle disappointment at all.
Right.
And so you're just going to spew all this nasty stuff. And then
Trust me,
you'll be
for a whole
fine
year,
couple
I
hours
was
later.
just waiting for Noel and Liam to go, I can't freaking stand you. I'm not doing this. And my whole world is crushed because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I want to see them again.
Yeah.
So I get it. I do on some level, but I'm also like, give the guy a break, man.
Yeah.
He's on
Totally.
a toilet puking and pooping. Like, come on. Let the guy have a day to be Tobias, right? Not Papa, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And let him do his thing. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. In another side, hard pivot, Rob Halford, after many years, I think, of being with his partner, I believe his name is Thomas now, finally got married. That's amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
I hope I'm not breaking any news here for anyone out there, but Rob Halford is gay. You know,
when did
I
this
don't
happen,
know.
Kevin? When did this happen?
I know. I think he's been on the record now for, I don't know, most of his career.
My world
I
is
do remember,
shaking.
I remember hearing something about that. He's like, how did people not know? I'm like, rolling out
All
in
the
leather
leather
and
and
whips and all this
yeah.
stuff and motorcycles on stage. How did people not
There were
know?
signs. There were signs.
There were signs for sure. But like, love is love. I'm happy for Rob. Rob's such an incredible singer and what a fantastic front man. I know I believe that he and Ozzy just released that posthumous song, a cover of War Pigs together for charity as well, which is amazing. So just thinking about some current events there, but you know,
like
lots of love to Rob and getting married after all these years. Yeah.
Yeah, they did War Pigs.
Good.
So obviously, we're used to hearing Ozzy sing that, but it is cool to hear him sing again in the context of something that's not, his band or not, Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
But I was listening to that just before we started the podcast. It sounds good. It sounds really cool.
Oh,
it sounds
yeah.
modern. Given the original one is old school, it is cool to hear like a nice modern version of that has Ozzy on it.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. And
do you remember when T-Pain did War Pigs?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you ever hear that?
Yeah.
That was so good.
After Ozzy passed, I was obviously, like many people, just kind of, scrolling endlessly and finding clips of him or other people covering his songs. And I came across that one. I had not heard it when it was released.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
And it was so good. And I'm like, I knew T-Pain was a good singer. I think people, honestly kind of went to him for his auto-tune sort of thing.
Yeah.
That he made sort of popular, but he's actually a really great singer. And it was really surprising to me hearing him and also hearing him do that. It's like, it just shows you how music just transcends, culture, color, race, preference, genre, all of it. People just find and fall in love with things that it means something to them or was an important staple in their life. And I loved it. I thought T-Pain knocked it out of the park. It was incredible. It was really, really good.
My whole world has been shaken a little bit on this front lately because so T-Pain, I don't know what he considers himself, probably an R&B artist. I would assume some hip hop crossover probably, but you wouldn't think about an R&B artist doing War Pigs. Like that seems like a wild combo, but it sounds amazing. And then like I sent you the other day, I think they're AI generated, but they sound incredible. There's someone out there.
Oh, the funk versions.
Doing funk versions of like, there was Megadeth. What song was it that I sent? Was it Peace Cells?
They did they did Holy Wars, the Punishment Dude.
Oh yeah, it was Holy Wars. When I saw the thumbnail for that, I'm like, there's not a world in which my brain can even conceptualize what a funk version of this song would sound like. And it sounded so good. I'm like,
it did.
I was floored.
Actually sound great. Yeah.
And then they did Man in the Box, Alice in Chains, also sounded incredible.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what? This use of AI is kind of fun. As someone who is kind of an AI hater right now, and don't get me wrong, we use AI. Like I get the utility, but for creative things, I struggle with that. That's a whole conversation that sounds like a lot of people do. I'm not alone there,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
really cool to hear those versions. And there's a whole bunch more I haven't heard yet, but
Yeah.
thought that was super fun.
I think it was really interesting to just, again, and I know more and more of that stuff's going to come out, and you're going to hear a lot more of those things popping up. But I do find it's kind of fun if you know that it's not real. You know, you could just enjoy it for what it is. Like, oh, this is an interesting, like mashups, you know, like an interesting mashup of this, you know, that took that song that's definitely metal and turned it into a funk song.
Yeah.
Something else that came up since we're on that Megadeth topic, I sent this to you the other day, and this may be old news. I don't know, but it seemed like from what I'm finding from the wiki pages and all that, and again, maybe this is a long conversation for another podcast, but I'll mention it now.
Yeah.
So Dave Mustaine is in an interview, and I stumbled across this on YouTube a couple days ago, and he's talking to someone, and he's telling them, you know, he's talking again about Metallica and the falling out, and that he was fired for being more violent. And he talks about a couple of instances that happened where, um, you know, James, I think, had kicked his dog and he got really angry and it escalated and, you know, said something like, well, if you're going to get to him, you're gonna have to go through me. And he said, okay, well, great. And punches James in the face or something like that, something along those lines.
Okay.
So I'm
That's
like,
a
I
story I
thought
hadn't
we were
heard.
kind of past a lot of this sort of frustration, anger. Because I
Yeah.
remember, of course, Metallica invited Megadeth out. They went on tour. You see all the hugging on stage and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I thought that it was kind of past, you know, and sort of laid to rest this sort of maybe frustration about not being in that band anymore and all that stuff as well. But he went on a tear about a lot of songs that he specifically had asked them not to use or take credit for because they were his songs that he had written. Or contributed heavily to, that they ended up taking full credit for without Dave potentially getting anything for that as well. And then he goes on to say, in a very sort of wink to the camera, it's like, you should go check out this band Excel. You might be fascinated. It might be fascinating to hear this song and see what you think. Certainly sounds a lot like Enter Sandman. And that song came out a couple years, maybe 2 or 3 years prior to Enter Sandman.
And boy,
So,
does it sound like Enter Sandman.
and it really does sound like that.
It really
So
does.
this could be
It
very old
really
news,
does.
but
It
it's
sounds
certainly
honestly kind of cooler in
yeah,
some
it's
regards.
it
The guitar
stirred
part's
it
pretty
up.
rad. Yeah.
It stirred it up for me, and I'm like, huh. So I had to text you. I'm like, I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but he's kind of come
No, I
out
hadn't.
and said this and sort of put it out like these guys ripped this band off. And I thought, again, look, I love Metallica and I love Megadeth. I got no hate towards either one. I just find it interesting, sort of this whole thing that's constantly been going on for 40 years now about Dave and the band. And Dave still, it seemingly feels slighted by maybe the songs that he wrote or contributed to that helped Metallica get to where they are now. Again,
Well,
early
you
on,
know,
he's a guitarist, but it's like,
I've got a thought on that too,
yeah,
because
I'd love to hear what you have.
they seem to have made up multiple times over the years in different ways.
That's what I
Some
thought.
more effective than others, right?
Yeah.
And maybe some misrepresented, because I know he's talked about how they sort of made things look in some kind of monster
In
documentary.
the Coast Down Monster documentary, yeah.
And he felt like that was really misrepresented. Hard to say, right? I mean, they put out their version of it. But okay, so to put it in like a sports analogy, there many like exceptional athletes talk about how they've had to make up slights to give them an edge, like to take things out of context or convince themselves that someone was their enemy. Like I feel like Tom Brady talked about that with Peyton Manning, how they were friends, And it took a while for that to kind of come out, right? But there was this thing of like, to give him an edge, he had to feel like he was an underdog, or he was being disrespected, or no one thought he could do it. I remember like being a big Niner fan. This was last year and the year before. There was a clip of a sports reporter that I follow talking about how Brandon Ayuk will, I think it was Brandon Ayuk, the week prep for the upcoming game, will watch tape to decide who he hates that week.
Right.
So it's this like
It's for
arbitrary thing
motivation.
of, yeah,
Right.
I need to decide that this person, we are enemies. That way I can focus my full force of will upon winning and being dominant. And that, I'm sure, has happened over all kinds of sports. I just happen to be a big football fan. I wonder how much of this for Dave is a psychological way to motivate himself and to keep him moving forward, because it seems like they've had every opportunity to make it right. And it seems like a lot of the things that come out are things that happened so long ago. And also, he's a man of faith now. He's got a family. Megadeth is coming to an end. Supposedly. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to say they're not going to retire, but I won't be surprised if they
We've
come
just
back.
seen too many bands that said that that's it, and then they still want to continue. Aerosmith, look at this. I mean, just literally, before we started the podcast, you're like, hey, have you heard the new Aerosmith song? And I'm like, my head scratcher. I'm like, wait a second. I know Steven stopped touring because of his voice, but then you see him at the Ozzy show and he crushes it at that tribute show. Crushed it.
Yeah.
And then he's on the thing we talked about on a couple podcasts ago with Youngblood doing the VMAs, I think, at MTV. Again, crushed it.
Well, that was the Ozzy deal. Oh, you're talking about the Ozzy show when Ozzy was still with us.
Back to the beginning show where he showed up on there and they did like Back in the Saddle or whatever.
Yeah.
And he sounded so good. And I was so impressed because I'm like, he was a year older. He's like 77, I think. Just sounded incredible.
Yeah.
But again, the new song sounds great.
It does. It sounds so good.
And it blows my mind because I'm like, okay, I understand not touring anymore. I could totally understand that. That's a lot. And you've done your residencies in Vegas and you've been on tour a ton and your body has gone through all the rigors of that kind of life. So I get it. But man, he still comes out and he's got pipes like nobody else. It's just incredible to me to hear. And
it's
going
their
back
first new music in 12 years. So, I mean, maybe just taking a long time away, was what he needed to be able to come back and
or just
do
doing studio stuff and put music out. It's not that saying the band's over, but hey, I'll still sing in the studio, but I just don't want to go and submit myself out to the touring and the rigors of that.
Yeah, right.
Back to the Dave thing, though, interestingly, like I said, whether any of that's true, not true, it definitely seems like motivation, or certainly has been motivation for Dave over the years to really build his own empire with an incredibly successful band. I believe Rest in Peace just turned 30 this week. I think it was. I saw that somewhere on the socials, which is also pretty incredible.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
So I'm like, is it 30 years? That's amazing. So anyway, just thinking about that for him and going, I know you're sort of retiring or at least ending Megadeth after this next album. Obviously, Metallica has gone on and continued to be very successful, as has Megadeth. So it was just interesting to me to kind of hear that and go, wow, he really fired a shot back at them with this whole thing about Enter Sandman and the band Excel. And he clearly is like, hey, they like to rip people off, including myself. And I'm like, wow, that's a pretty straight up allegation to be bringing out at this late stage in both of their journeys. It's like, maybe just let it go.
Yeah.
Maybe just let it go.
It is interesting, though. And that debate between those two bands will always be so interesting to me because clearly if you just go by the popular metrics, Metallica is the more successful band. But then you also look and you go, okay, well, Metallica doesn't sound at all like Metallica unless you have James and Lars.
Mm-hmm.
And I would make the argument that also Metallica doesn't sound like Metallica at all if you don't have Cliff
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning to set that whole foundation and help them write all those early great songs that became Metallica.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at 2 to 3 people required to make that sound. Dave has proven he is the one and the only mastermind of Megadeth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that makes a band or an artist better than another one, but my God, it's pretty amazing to have one person stand up against the collaborative efforts of, multiple people. I'm not saying that Kirk is not an important aspect of that band. I would never say
No, he
that.
took a jab. He took a jab at Kirk. He said when
he has many times.
He's like, he's had a hard time being able to keep up with the solos that I wrote. And I'm like, whoo, that's ouch. That's kind of,
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
shots fired.
Yeah. Kirk is the kind of player that he knows what he likes and what he wants to do, and he sticks with that. And I think his popularity with the fans ebbs and flows as time goes on.
Yeah.
I'm a really big fan of a lot of the earlier stuff that he contributed in the band. And now I have to look at it in a little bit of a different light given this whole Excel thing, but it's like that was his riff, or so the story goes, is that he brought Enter Sandman to the table. Great song, and it gets played in every sports arena and every place you can think of plays that song every day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of love there, but
yeah,
that's
just
wild,
interesting
though.
to see where this goes and where that story's, if it unfolds or if it's already old news. Again, we may be behind on this one, but I just found it
Well,
and
and
thought it was so
Metallica will
interesting.
probably never address it.
No.
So that's the thing, is like Dave will take his shots and the band will just pretend it never happened, and
and life goes on.
It goes nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, either way,
Wow.
like I said, I think it's interesting to see how that, like I said, continues to pop up and this sort of love-hate relationship that they've had over the many years. But from a fan's perspective, I do enjoy them both. And it's just interesting to me. And as far as Dave and his playing, Dave's a great player. I felt like he got better when Marty joined the band, and that's my personal opinion. I think when you have someone of that caliber in your band, you have no choice but to level up. Like, you're playing against somebody who's just a phenomenal guitar player. So I'm sure Dave picked up a lot of things from Marty or vice versa and ended up
just from being
becoming
around
even
it
better.
too.
Yeah,
Even if
exactly.
Marty's not sitting there going, all right, here's how you play this, it's like,
right.
You absorb it from being around other great players, or at least it pushes you to maximize what it is that you do really well. And I have to imagine that that's been the case with every guitar player that they've had in that band. He's never had a scrub. So. He's never had someone who was not a complete virtuoso and just magnificent at what they do. So he's had
It's
every
kind of what I'm
opportunity
hoping that maybe he gets on this last round. I think it is exciting because Marty did come out even when Kiko was playing with them. Marty came out and played on a few songs with them, a couple shows or festivals that they did. And of course, it came with uproarious applause when they did that. So I'm hoping that maybe on this last tour, or what he's going to call the final tour, maybe he will go back and get all of those other guitar players that have played with them at different stages in their career to maybe come and join them, and play a few songs and kind of bring back the whole Megadeth family. With that being said, I don't know if Elfson's going to come back. So that might not happen. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
if it's been enough time. I don't know.
Maybe statute of limitations have dropped on that one.
That's a funny way to phrase that, but
yeah. Not legally, I mean, but yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, and I don't even know how that story ended up. Like, did those
either.
allegations and all that turn out to be real, or was that just because all that kind of came out at a time where you didn't necessarily need to find out the full results before people made extreme decisions. I wonder about that one because I don't think I ever circled back to see if he was found guilty of anything or
Yeah.
exactly how that
I don't know.
ended
I
up.
know Dave distanced himself from that for a long time, so
Yeah,
I don't really know what had come of that. Maybe that's for another time.
yeah,
But anywho, I just thought that's interesting. Well, maybe they will, bring back some of the older members of the band to kind of come back for one last trip around the sun. You
yeah,
know,
totally. I mean, a bunch of those guitar players I loved. I mean, Chris
hmm
Poland
Chris
was
Poland, yeah,
amazing. Chris Broderick, one of my favorites. I love that era of
Broderick was
Megadeth too.
incredibly good. Yeah, he was really good.
That dude is just wild in what he can
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
And their current guitar player, I've been a really big fan of him for a long time because he's in a band called Winter Sun,
Mm,
and he plays guitar in that band. That band has three guitar players. The main guy that writes the music, like that's a band I found my freshman or sophomore year of high school. Their
mm,
first record came out in 2004, and it is unbelievable the way that it
mm,
sounds. Because they're from Finland, I believe. Could be
mm,
Sweden, but I think it's Finland. And so they do this really melodic death metal type thing that is just super fast and well, it's either super fast or it's really slow.
mm.
And the playing in it and the motifs and it's absolutely beautiful, but super powerful.
mm,
And they've gone on to do some really cool stuff too with orchestration. And so it took them forever to come out with the second album because of the way that they were trying to do all of their arrangements. So there are these really complex, really immense symphonic elements of what they do that are much more like something you would hear Hans Zimmer doing
Oh
than what
yeah,
you would
yeah.
typically hear a band that has symphonic, like, you hear this genre
Right.
symphonic metal, and that's not to take a shot at any of them, but usually that just means that strings play a pretty big role.
mm,
And a lot of times they're kind of like keyboard type strings,
Yeah.
and just to add to that sort of like epic atmospheric feeling. Their thing is not that at all. It's
mm.
really complex orchestral arrangements and
Oh
then
wow.
mixed into a metal context, and it's phenomenal. So yeah, that guitar player, he's the one who takes all the hardest lead guitar parts in that band.
Mm.
So when I heard he was joining Megadeth, I was super pumped because I think he's a phenomenal talent. And
Yeah.
he's kind of like Ingve in the sense that when they play, it seems like they're not trying, you know, like it seems like it's not hard for them at all.
Right.
As opposed to like, all right, the hard part's coming up. Like I really need to get this.
Mm.
You don't get that feeling at all from a player like him, which is always a blast to watch because it must be hard. There's no way it's
Mhm,
not.
mhm.
But the finesse and the skill and the composure, makes it come across like,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you want
Just
to do after
another
this? What are
just another day in the
what are we getting
office.
for dinner?
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
When
yeah,
you're like turkey in a blender kind of raking and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Like, okay, great. Yeah, good for you. That's gonna take me 20 years to figure out how my fingers can do that.
Yeah, just for that one section of that one song, let alone all the stuff that you like do all night
Yeah. Oh yeah,
casually.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, maybe to wrap us up, I know not sure when this is gonna air, so maybe the record's out already, or maybe it's about to come out. Regardless, if you like what we're talking about and you've been able to listen to our music and you've discovered it either through the podcast or through the Silver Echo, we just say thanks. I just want to say thanks again.
yeah,
Thanks for showing up.
absolutely.
Thanks for playing the song, for listening to the video, for listening to us spew nonsense for an hour. Whatever you find that's entertaining to you, that's brought you here, we just really greatly appreciate it. And if you like what we're doing and you think a friend's going to like us, that's how people and artists like us grow. Share it with a friend, post it if you wish, get the word out there. You'd be doing us a great favor and helping to get really good music that we feel out into the world and have more people get a chance to listen to it. So with that, I just want to say a lot of thanks, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, all of the links to contact us are in our bio. If you're not and you're just listening, that's awesome too. And you can check out more about the podcast on thesonicalchemy.com. You can find out more about the Silver Echo on thesilverecho.com. Also, last little thing I'm going to throw out, we're about to have our first guest on, and that's all I'm going to say for now. But it's been part of the plan with this podcast all along to be able to bring in guests and have cool conversations that aren't just you and I, as great as these are.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to have our first guest on. We'll see how that goes. And then, we've got more that we're planning to bring in as well. And so if you or someone that would be a really great guest on the show, hit us up. We'd love to have you on. We'd love to explore that. And so that's all we got for today. If you listen this far, thank you so much. Oh, yes.
Buy the
What do we
shirt.
got there?
Buy the shirts.
Yeah, so if you're only listening to the audio, Kevin is holding up our brand new Toxic Heroes t-shirt. Toxic Heroes is a track on the new album. That particular artwork was done by Kevin's very own tattoo artist at Santa Cruz Tattoo, who's done vast majority of the artwork he has. Really phenomenal artist, Shannon. What's Shannon's last name?
Shannon Cullen. Go
Cullen.
check him out if you need tattoos. Shannon Cullen at Santa Cruz Tattoo. I'm going to give a shameless plug for that, but he crushed it for the shirt. So
it looks
cool.
so good.
It's
Dude,
so
seeing
good.
it,
Yeah.
like, I haven't ordered mine yet, but just seeing that looks like that turned out beyond my wildest dreams. So I'm really excited to get that. And it comes on a hoodie.
Cool.
So if you're more of a hoodie person, you can get it on the hoodie. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, I love
well,
it.
Until next time, thank you all so much.
Go support independent music, y'all. Take care. Cool.